Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Mucking Fun Day. Did you have a good weekend? Well, you better have, because I told you to have a good weekend on Friday. Now it's time to ruin your day by having some Mucking Fun Day news here on Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we start, and we haven't had any caffeine. So what's in the headlines today? Today on Before Coffee, Modi and Sanchez launch India's first private military aircraft plan, and US and EU call for investigation of Georgian elections after reports of intimidation and irregularities.
And the Washington Post buckles to fascists and refuses to endorse a candidate, so columnists are resigning. And we have reports on Lithuania Social Democrats winning their parliamentary election.
Current climate pledges still fall way short on Paris goals, UN body says.
And the weather's in the news, whether it's brush fires in Massachusetts or it's raining in the Sahara Desert.
Are you dressing up as a witch at Halloween? The sickening origins of this caricature may make you think again.
And it's National Chocolate Day. National Chocolate Day. There's no other reason to get up today, other than it's National Chocolate Day, October 28th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Coffee, the thing we haven't had yet because this is Before Coffee, but don't worry, you're allowed to drink coffee, we just aren't. So let's get into our coffee-less news story coverage with my first story about a private military aircraft plant being run by India with the help of Spain. This is on Euronews by Euronews and AP, so they jointly are reporting on this together. Just like Spain and India, the two prime ministers inaugurated the Tata aircraft complex in Vadodara, boosting India's defense sector with the Airbus-Tata partnership producing C-295 planes. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Spanish counterpart Pedro Sanchez inaugurated India's first private military aircraft plant in Vadodara in an effort to boost the Asian country's defense and aerospace manufacturing. The two leaders were in the Indian state of Gujarat to launch the Tata aircraft complex, which will manufacture Airbus C-295 transport planes for the Indian Air Force in partnership with Airbus Spain. Sanchez, greeted by the country's cheering crowds, said the project was a triumph of Modi's vision to turn India into an industrial powerhouse and a magnet for investment in business-to-business collaboration. This partnership between Airbus and Tata would contribute to the progress of the Indian aerospace industry and will open new doors for the arrival of other European companies, he added. This new aircraft, this is Modi, so I have to do a different voice. This new aircraft factory will boost new skills and new industries in India, Modi said, adding that the country was now supplying parts to the world's leading aircraft companies. Tata Group Chairman Natarajan Chandrasekaran called it a historic day, crediting the late Ratan Tata for coming up with the idea over a decade ago. The 2.3 billion euro deal with Airbus, signed in 2021, involves delivering 16 aircraft from Spain, 6 of which have been delivered to the Indian Air Force so far. Tata will produce 40 more in Vadodara, with India's first C-295 expected in 2026. Since taking office in 2014, Modi has aimed to make India a global manufacturing hub, promoting private defense production and easing foreign investment rules. This plant reflects his vision to modernize India's defense sector. Sanchez's visit is the first by a Spanish leader to India in 18 years. During the trip, he and Modi will discuss bilateral relations and sign agreements in trade, IT, renewable energy, and defense. Sanchez is also set to visit Mumbai to meet business leaders and explore partnership in film production. Yeah, let's have some Spanish Bollywood films. India and Spain trade reached nearly 9.2 billion euros in 2023, with over 200 Spanish companies operating in India, around 80 Indian firms in Spain. It's a combo you didn't really expect, but it's a combo I like, honestly, just a little bit. And you can say a lot of bad things about Modi, but at least he's, as everyone knows, doing the thing everyone cares about, which is boosting the economy. Now, speaking of questionable leadership, we've got some calls for investigation into Georgia's election, which happened last weekend. This is by the Kiev Independent news desk. EU's chief diplomat, Josep Borrell, and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged an investigation of the Georgian parliamentary elections over reports of irregularities in statements made on October 27th. The Moscow-friendly Georgian Team Dream Party won almost 54% of the vote in the October 26 elections, but international observers declare the results neither free nor fair. Pro-EU opposition parties have disputed the ruling party's victory, and President Salome Zurabachishvili said on October 27 that she would not recognize the results and called for mass protests. We call on the Central Election Commission of Georgia and other relevant authorities to fulfill their duty to swiftly, transparently, independently investigate and adjudicate electoral irregularities and allegations thereof. Oh, sorry, that was Borrell. I thought it was Salome, President Salome. That's okay. Well, Borrell is a woman now. Said in a statement.
Sound the same.
Yeah. We condemn all contraventions of international norms and join calls from international and local observers for a full investigation of all reports of election-related violations. Blinken encouraged Georgia's political leaders to respect the rule of law, repeal the legislation that undermines fundamental freedoms, and address deficiencies in the electoral process together. While international and local observers agreed that Election Day was generally well administered, we note reports of irregularities and sporadic violence. International observers have not declared the result to be free and fair, the U.S. chief diplomat said. After the results of the October 26 vote were announced, Georgian opposition groups refused to recognize the result and said the election was stolen, pointing to election monitors reporting various violations across the country, including ballot stuffing and voter intimidation. If you don't vote and your whole family doesn't vote for the Dream Party, we will kill your dog. Wait a minute, you can't do that. According to a report by the Election Observation Mission led by OSCE, Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, ODIHR, that's two organizations with lots of words, the election day was marked by a tense environment with frequent compromises and vote secrecy and several procedural inconsistencies, as well as reports of intimidation and pressure on voters, especially on public sector voters. The Georgian Dream Party, funded by oligarch Bidzina Ivanishvili, has led the country closer to Moscow, hampering its EU aspirations. Tbilisi's adoption of the controversial Foreign Agents Law earlier this year led to EU effectively freezing Georgia's ascension process, even though it was awarded candidate status last December. Way to blow that up. Tbilisi's relationship with Washington also deteriorated over the past months as the U.S. began curbing partnership programs and imposed sanctions against Georgian officials. Georgian president does not recognize the results and calls for protests. These elections cannot be recognized. This is the same as recognizing Georgia's subordination to Russia. No one can take away Georgia's European future. This has been a report from the Kiev Independent and Abby Fenbert with Association of all sorts of people. So, bad news for Georgia. Worser news for everyone else, as it looks like another country has been inaugurated into the unofficial Russian Federation, as they're trying to, get those oligarchs, that money flowing, so they can corrupt their surrounding governments, and they can all side with Russia and say, yeah, you should have invaded Ukraine, because I think that's what Russia's after now. Russia is like, we just need to get enough people on our side to agree that we totally deserve to invade Russia, and then when with public sentiment on our side, they'll just have to back down, because they're not winning militarily. They thought they were going to finish this war in like 1 to 2 years, and it's still going. So 4 years in, almost 5 years in, because it started in February. And I think they're gonna try to get swaying on the public sphere here, on who supports them and everything they do, because Russia's so great. Nobody's perfect, you know? Russia is a little not perfect at all, really, in my opinion, for what I care about. But there's your story on Georgia's elections and what was the first thing I talked about? The new aircraft plant in India to help the Spanish and Indian team up you never expected. On to your story. Unless you wanted to add anything into that.
Okay, from fascism trying to take hold in the Russian sphere to fascism taking hold of the United States. As fascism's on the march, newspapers decide, hey, we don't want to piss off the fascists. They might come and lock us up. They'll spare us. And of course, in the United States, we have two of the biggest papers in the United States, the Los Angeles Times and the Washington Post. Washington Post owned by Jeff Bezos of Amazon fame.
Bezos.
So he legitimately stopped the paper. The owner of the paper stopped the editors from endorsing anybody. The same thing in LA Times. Their owner is a guy named Patrick Soon-Shiong. A billionaire.
My stocks are going to fall if they
Times.
Find out I'd side with somebody specifically.
They're not talking about their stocks falling.
No, I mean
they
Bezos.
Are trying to appease the fascists. Bezos? No, Bezos is appeasing the fascists. They're both appeasing the fascists. Nothing to do with stocks. You think Bezos cares about his stocks? He's got billions of dollars. He doesn't care about stocks. He cares about fascism and losing his fucking freedom. So that's what these rich assholes are all about. They're all about, oh, we own newspapers that are supposed to read free press, but we're gonna stop our tradition of endorsing candidates this year only because we're afraid of the fascists. We hope that when the fascists win, they don't lock us up. That's what they're about. BusinessInsider.com is a story. A Washington Post columnist quits over decision not to endorse. Michelle Norris, the columnist of the Washington Post, has resigned, making her the most recent staffer to leave over the newspaper's decision not to endorse any candidate for the 2024 election after its editorial board had been poised to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris. Sexism? Racism? No! They're just buckling to the fascists.
It's cronyism.
Norris shared the news Sunday in a post on social media. The Washington Post decision withhold an endorsement that had been written and approved in an election where core democratic principles are at stake was a terrible mistake and an insult to the paper's own long-standing standard of regularly endorsing candidates since 1976, she wrote. The Washington Post publisher said it would not endorse a candidate this presidential election. The Washington Post Friday said it would not endorse U.S. presidential candidate, angry some staffers, including Robert Kagan, an editor-at-large who resigned on Friday. Will Lewis, the Post publisher and CEO, wrote in a column on Friday, this guy is a fascist. This guy, Will Lewis. Anyway. Wrote in a column Friday that the decisions were made to allow Post readers to make up their own minds. Okay. On whom to vote. That's just horse shit. Newspapers always endorse candidates. It's tradition. Editorial boys always doing this. I don't know why they act like they're special. Our job at the Washington Post is to provide through the newsroom nonpartisan views to all Americans and thought-provoking reported views from our opinion team to help our readers make up their own minds. I'm sorry, what?
Years. The United States hasn't been partisan on any... The United States hasn't been nonpartisan for decades. Everyone has a side. Stop acting like you guys are some neutral party.
They're pretending.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of all... Okay, let me read this guy's quote now. Our job at the Washington Post is to provide, through the newsroom, nonpartisan views of all Americans, thought-provoking reporting views from our opinion team to help our readers make up their own minds, he wrote. Most of all, our job is the newspaper, the capital city of the Muslim party country of the world is independent. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please, fascists, don't kill me. That's what his statement said. Norris, who had been a high-profile opinion columnist in the Post since 2010, said on social media, reason given in no way justifies the change in policy. I'm deeply disappointed by the Post's decision to reverse course and withhold the presidential endorsement in this election cycle when the excellent reporting throughout the entirety of the paper makes it clear that all that is at stake in this election around the world, she wrote. The newspaper publishes a separate article on Friday reporting that its owner, Jeff Bezos, ultimately made the call. Post reported that editorial page staffers had drafted an endorsement for Harris, who is vying for the Oval Office against defended J. Trump. The former Washington Post executive editor Martin Barron criticized the move in a text to the newspaper, according to the Post article on Friday. This is cowardice, a moment of darkness that will leave democracy as a casualty. Donald Trump will celebrate this as an invitation to further intimidate the Post's owner, Jeff Bezos, and other media owners, he said. History will mark a disturbing chapter of spinelessness at an institution famed for courage. Of course, Washington Post employees.
They said it. Freaking, where's my snapping, you know? Where you do when somebody does like some good poetry, you know? Yeah. Speak the truth. Spineless.
And they employed Bob Woodward, whose book is totally exposing Trump. Bob Woodward's still working at Washington Post. He probably should resign. I don't know why he didn't resign. It's just like, oh, okay, editorial board, do your thing. And then he's like, oh, the owner's an asshole. Let me quit. Bob Woodward should print some money at this point. I don't think he needs Jeff Bezos' money. But anyway, I'm looking for Bob Woodward to resign, but he probably won't, because whatever. Maybe he owes money all over town. I have no idea. Okay, other stories involving political intrigue and actual elections. Lithuania. We're all the way to Lithuania. Lithuania Social Democrats win big in parliamentary election. This is from Gidre Pisekait from Politico.com. Politico.eu, sorry. Politico.eu, their European website. Lithuania's opposition Social Democratic Party won parliamentary elections on Sunday, pushing up Prime Minister Ingrida Simonte and her incumbent Homeland Union Lithuanian Christian Democrats. The results are great, Social Democrats LSDP leader Vilija Blinkevičiūtė, I don't know how to spell that, Blinkevičiūtė. Wow, and it's got a bunch of those M-lots and all kinds of stuff over all the letters.
M-lots just means stay longer.
Let's just say Blinky. I don't even think they're M-lots. They're a bunch of other things. told the reporters that at the party's election night headquarters, it showed that people want change. However, Mazidas Jastramskis, an associate professor at Vilnius University Institute of International Relations, Vilnius University Institute of International Relations and Political Science, said it was hard to identify what will really change from rule by the Christian Democrats in election night interview with LRT television. For instance, Lithuania will maintain its hardline approach towards Russia, will keep its pro-Western foreign policy, with LDSB having vocally supported increasing the defense budget. Blinky, a member of the European Parliament, is hoping to form a coalition with the Union of Democrats for Lithuania, the DSBL, and the Lithuanian Farmers and Gardens Union, which is the LVZS, she told reporters. However, while she said earlier she would quit as MEP to take up the job as Prime Minister on Sunday, she didn't give a clear answer to reporters who asked her to confirm that plan. DSVL leader Saulius Skvernelis, however, said he was 100% sure that Blinky would take the Prime Minister's role. The poll closed at 8 p.m. Vilnius time. I can't pronounce the city. Vilnius time, counting votes from 63 constituencies, and had no clear winner. The first round of parliamentary elections October 13th.
Slip of the tongue there.
Official results had LDSP securing 52 seats out of 141, while the TSLKD got 28 seats. The National Populist Dawn of Numanis won 20 seats, while DVSL took 14. The Liberal Movement got 12 and LVZS 8. Some 78 parliamentarians were elected during the first round, with the Social Democrats prevailing. The 140 seats in the Seimas, Lithuania's parliament, are awarded through both party lists and direct representation. So there's your truncated Lithuania election news and your outrageous...
Lithuania is not siding with Russia.
Why is the United States... The United States Free Press buckling under to the fascists. Back to you.
Okay. From free press to climate change. That's right. I got some bad news for you, and that's allowed because it's Monday. This is from David Stanway from Reuters. Current climate pledges are falling way short of goals, a UN body has announced. This is coming out of Singapore. National pledges to cut greenhouse gas emissions still fall far short of what is needed to limit catastrophic global warming, the United Nations said today on October 28th, as countries prepare for the next round of climate change negotiations this November. The nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, already submitted by countries to the UN, are enough to cut global emissions by 2.6% from 2019 to 2030, up from 2% last year. So they've added 0.6% to that 2% estimation. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, said in its annual assessment, but they are far from sufficient to achieve the 43% cut scientists say is required to stay within reach of the Paris Agreement target to limit global temperatures rises 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2 points in Fahrenheit. It warned. Yeah. If you're by 2030, they want to get 30%. So far gotten to 2.6. So, are we even trying? 10%. A 10% increase would be, or maybe a 5, but a 0.6 increase is just not enough. As part of the Paris obligation, nations must deliver new and strong NDCs before the deadline in February next year. The reports find things should mark a turning point on steel UNFCCC Secretary General. I'm going to just say Triple C because that's more fun. Current national climate plans fall little short of what's needed to stop global heating from crippling every economy and wrecking billions of lives and livelihoods across every country, he said. The last generation of NDCs signaled for unstoppable change. But still, new NDCs next year must outline a clear path to make it happen. Persuading nations to set and implement more ambitious pledges could depend on the success of COP29 climate talks beginning 2 weeks in Azerbaijani capital of Baku. Well, I'll try to keep my eyes on that. Nearly 2 countries thrash out. No, we're gonna use less global emission. Imagine just fighting in the ring. Wow, he's hit a solar panel, and wow, that guy made a wind farm. Anyways, nearly 200 countries will thrash out the details of new global emissions trading system, as well as a hefty $100 billion annual financial package to help developing countries meet their climate goals. What we are seeing is that in some cases, the NDC processes might be used as a negotiating mechanism. More money for more ambition, said Pablo Vieira, Global Director of the NDC Partnership, a non-government group that is helping around 60 countries draw up updated pledges. They also want to make sure that the new NDCs are inevitable, that they have the necessary elements that will attract not just public finance, but also private, he said. In a separate report, the UN's weather monitoring body said today on October 28th that greenhouse gases have been accumulating in the atmosphere faster than any time expected during their human existence over the last 2 decades. Carbon dioxide concentrations hit a new high of 420 parts per million, blaze it, as in the atmosphere is on fire, last year, up to 2.3 ppm from a year earlier. They have risen by 11.4%. So we've increased our goals of implementing sufficient cuts by 0.6%, but our actual global housing gases has increased by 11. That's not going to work. In just 20 years, the World Meteorological Organization, WMO, said in its annual greenhouse gas bulletin, 11.4 in 20 years. There are already signs that the rising temperatures are driving dangerous feedbacks that will further increase atmospheric greenhouse gas concentrations, the report warned. Last year's increase in CO2 concentrations, the second largest annual rise of the last decade, could be driven by a surge in forest fires, with the carbon released from Canada's worst ever wildfire season exceeding the annual emissions of most major countries. CO2 concentrations are now 51% higher than pre-industrial levels, while methane, another potent greenhouse gas, is, here we go, 165% higher than in 1750, the WMO said. Gotta love that industrial agriculture sector. This should set alarm bells ringing among decision makers, said WMO Secretary General Celeste Saulo. These are more than just statistics. Every part per million and every fraction of a degree temperature increases have a real impact on our lives and our planet. So, that's a reporting by David Stanway and editing by Michael Perry on this report, which has reported that we are not doing good enough And we need to try harder, and we need to push our governments to try harder, because soon we won't have a planet to live on anymore, and we'll be breathing methane or something. There won't be any oxygen. We'll just die. You know, we're just gonna die. So don't die, guys. Think about the future. Put the pressure on those people who make those decisions. I know we're all just individuals, but together we can tell them to do something differently. Yeah, start writing letters, I guess, and calling people on the phone. And hopefully we can get to those Paris goals by 2030. I'm trying to be positive, but if it's a 43% our goal is 43%, we've got 2.6, you know, we really need to try harder in the next 5 years. And on to your story.
Right on. We're going to talk about the weather. You just said, send it over to me, and here's Roger with the weather. And I put a little weather map.
Here's a very related topic to climate change.
Weather map of the world.
Weather.
Oh, yes. This is some bizarro weather. It hasn't rained here in Maryland for I don't know. It definitely hasn't rained in October. I remember that.
Which is weird, because that's hurricane season.
The hurricanes didn't even come close to here. Like the big hurricanes, they either just went up to Tennessee or they went to the Atlantic, straight up the sea. But we haven't gotten any rain, which is great for helping me build my shed, because I can just build my shed and not have to worry about getting wet. But at some point, I got to figure out if the roof's going to leak. Anyway, it is not raining out here in the Northeast very much, and they're having brush fires in Massachusetts. This is from NBC Boston, Alicia Palumbo. Crews are rushing getting brush fires under control across Massachusetts. One of the biggest is happening in Salem, Massachusetts. Not where the witch trials. That is where the witch trials took place. That's the place. One of the biggest is happening in Salem, where a large blaze has been burning for days. Right along Highland Avenue by the Walmart. The hillside was on fire Monday morning. Firefighters pulled up were able to quickly extinguish the flame. The problem is the brush remains dry. There's still a breeze, and with fire on the ground and more than 80 acres burning, and this fire alone is up to completely put it out. In fact, there were several wildfires burning through the state over the weekend. From Millbury, where one person died in a brush fire at the encampment, to here in Salem. Without rain in the forecast, the concern is fires like the one in Salem will just keep burning. With limited access to the sprawling fire, crews are essentially containing it and moving firefighting apparatus around, put out flames and hot spots when they get in their homes or businesses. Meanwhile, in Middleton, a brush fire continues to burn near a reservoir there. The concern is that the community was that it was close to the power lines on Upton Hills Road. In Beverly, a brush fire burns near some shopping plazas, sending thick smoke and all around it. In Canton, there was a wildfire behind the Massachusetts Hospital School. Fire crews say there is just an elevated risk everywhere because of the extremely dry conditions. It's a lot of brush, Salem Fire Chief Alan Dion said. We haven't burned up here in about 15 years, and every bout of fires we have in the area, they get rid of some of the fuel. But it's been a long time, so there's a lot of fuel on the ground. It's mostly right along the ground, the trees and branches, most of that type of stuff, but nothing in the canopy. It does make me nervous because I heard about the red flags for the past few weeks, so that's been kind of scary, said Betsy Cassidy, who lives near the brush fires. The flames continue to burn in the woods of Salem, leaving a haze of smoke that can be seen and smelled for miles around. And obviously, the timing of this brush fire is not ideal, with thousands descending on the area for Halloween on Thursday. Yes, Salem's a big Halloween town because of the witches.
Yep.
So there's your brush fire news. And in other more bizarre weather-related news, this is from ScienceAlert.com. Exceptional intense rainfall has transformed the Sahara Desert. Excuse me. In Morocco's southeastern desert, a rare downpour has brought lakes and ponds back to life, with locals and tourists hailing it as a gift from the heavens. Oh yeah, that's what's happening here. In Merzalga, an attractive tourist town of let's do that again. In Merzalga, an attractive tourist town some 600 kilometers southeast of the capital of Rabat, the once parched golden dunes are now dotted with replenished ponds and lakes. We are incredibly happy about the recent rains, said Yusuf Chega, a local tour guide leading a group of German tourists to Yasmina Lake, nestled amidst Merzalga's dunes. Khalid Skandouri, another tour guide, said the rain has drawn even more visitors to the area, and now particularly eager to witness this odd transformation. With him, Laetitia Chalet, a French tourist and regular visitor to the region, said the rainfall has proved a blessing from the sky. They keep acting like this is just, oh, God decided to rain on us. Oh, okay. Okay. Live in that little world. The desert became green again. The animals have food again, and the plants and palm trees came back to life, she said. Locals told AFP the basin had been barren for nearly 20 years. Last year was Morocco's driest in 80 years, with a 48% drop in rainfall, according to an October report from the General Directorate of Meteorology. But in September, torrential rains triggered floods in southern parts of Morocco, killing at least 28 people, according to authorities. Oh, that was a blessing too, I suppose, right? The 28 people that died. Come on, get over yourselves, will you? Ain't no blessing. It's just weather. The rare heavy rains came as the North African kingdom grapples with its worst drought in nearly 4 years, threatening its economically crucial agriculture sector. Hopefully they can store all this rain. Neighboring Algeria saw similar rain and flooding in early September, killing 6 people. North African countries currently rank among the world's most water-stressed, according to the World Resources Institute, a non-profit research organization. The kingdom's meteorological agency described the massive rainfall as exceptional. It attributed it to an unusual shift in the intertropical convergence zone, the equatorial region where winds from the northern and southern hemisphere meet, causing thunderstorms and heavy rainfall. Is it climate change? Everything suggests that this is a sign of climate change, Fatima Drioche, a Moroccan climate scientist, told AFP, but it's too early to say, definitely without thorough studies. Drioche emphasized the importance of further research to attribute this event to broader climate trends. Experts say climate change is making extreme weather events such as storms and droughts more frequent and intense. In Morocco's south, the rains have helped partially fill some reservoirs to replenish groundwater aquifers. But for those levels to significantly rise, experts say the rains would need to continue over a longer period of time. Not likely. The rest of the country is still grappling with drought, now in its 6th consecutive year, jeopardizing the agricultural sector that employs over a third of Morocco's workforce. Jean-Marc Berhois Courgoin, a 68-year-old French tourist, said he was surprised to find Yasmina Lake replenished. I felt like a kid on Christmas morning, he said. I hadn't seen these views for 15 years. Walter has also returned to other deserts such as Erzingon, about 40 kilometers south of Merzalga, AFP reporter saw. While the rains have breathed life into Morocco's arid southwest, Drioche warns that a single extreme event can't bring lasting change. Last week, Morocco's meteorological agency said such downpours can become increasingly frequent, driven partly by climate change as the intertropical convergence zone shifts further north. So maybe it's possible with climate change, this could become a current event in these regions, and they're going to have a lot of problem with water containment. But there's your stories on the weather. Back to you, as we have other weather stories.
Wow, that is pretty crazy, wild weather going on. But yeah, like I said with my previous story, it's gonna just get crazier and crazier unless we get that 43% goal of the Paris Agreement, which I don't know if the U.S. has rejoined that after Trump left it, but it's definitely gonna be a problem in the future. Speaking of having some fun at Halloween, which you did mention in that previous story, do you want to dress up as a witch for Halloween? Well, let's look at the history of the sickening origin, as Katie Hessel says on The Guardian, of the character that may make you think again. What comes to mind when we think of a witch? A woman with a pointed hat, a hooked nose, green skin, long straggly hair, and a broomstick? That's almost exactly what I look like. Wait a minute. I'm just kidding. Perhaps she's older, bad-tempered, evil to children, wreaks havoc. From Macbeth to the Wizard of Oz, that is how witches have been portrayed, and it largely continues today. Certainly what you'll see when you come to Halloween. But who came up with this image? Where does it stem from, and how does it play into stereotypes about women? The idea of the evil or harmful witch comes from the late medieval and early modern period, when those who were suspected of partaking of magical rituals and conjuring spirits were seen as heretics. But this category would also include female folk healers or wise women who simply practice informal healthcare. For example, midwifery. You help women give birth? Witch! As medieval women, show... You know which herbs are poisonous? Witch! If I want to die from eating a red toadstool, I should be allowed.
That's right.
As medieval women, a show that has just opened at the British Library in London makes clear, such healers were sometimes viewed with contempt by male university-educated medical professionals. Ah, the classic patriarchal jealousy. Wait, women, why are we supposed to feel good about ourselves for being better than you if you can do the same thing as us without education? Oh, my feelings. Similarly, the church condemned acts of witchcraft as harmful and blasphemous. Witches were believed to be agents of the devil, who could shapeshift, God I wish, into animals. You know how great it would be if it'd be like, you know what, I don't want to be human today. I'm going to turn to a dog and run around in the street. Woo! I'm going to sniff people's butts. It's going to be great. Now, instead of, doing whatever I do all day. They chase with animals, ride through the night on a broomstick, another great thing. I'd love to be able to fly. Use magic to mess with nature, conjure storms, and property, and even murder children. And don't forget, eat them. While these ideas might seem bound up in fantasy, there were, by the height of the Great Witch Hunt, which reached its peak in late 1500s and early 1600s, spreading like wildfire, creating widespread yet irrational fear. It's basically just the Red Scare before the Red Scare happened. You're somebody I don't like. You must be a witch. I don't like how you arranged your garden. You must be a witch. You're messing with nature. That's a sign. Why are you putting hydrangea bushes when you should be using, I don't know, some other bush? You're a witch. Just how petty people can be. They would just use that as a way to get you. This was part of the invention of the printing press. They started printing propaganda about witches. One of the first and deadliest publications to fuel the fever was the Malleus Maleficarium, or the Hammer of Witches. This comprehensive witchcraft manual, first published in 1486, was written by German monk Hendrik Kramer. Damn Germans. It gathered many of these inflamed stories, claiming witches were involved in cannibalism, had sex with the devil, and could cause impotence in men. Alright, I'm impotent not because of my diet, but because of a woman. It's her fault. She's a witch. You've been impotent. It's not my fault.
This is my
I love
the gin I drink every day.
Yeah, I love the blaming women for your own incompetence. Kramer said we offered babies to the devil. No one does more harm to the faith. Faith, he said. Insert picture of Mark Hamilton of the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz, the film. Malleus was one of the main reasons that witchcraft stopped being seen as something harmless. It pushed the belief that it was solely women that practiced witchcraft, a point of view even expressed in its title, which chose the term Maleficarum as opposed to the original Latin masculine term Maleficorum. Goddamn gendered language! At the dawn of the 1500s, when witchcraft was becoming the stuff of literary discussions, artists working in print, especially in southern Germany, took note, visualizing and shaping the new character. Albrecht Dürer, godson of Kramer's publisher, drawing from classical sources, pictured the witch in two ways: young and seductive, luring others to her coven, and haggard and old, riding backwards on a goat, a symbol of the devil. Riding backwards on a goat! That's an interesting mode of transport, if I have to say so myself. Dürer even wrote his signature backwards on the witch, a work from the 1500s to emphasize the disorder or ordered patriarchal culture. I see. Women are riding backwards, hence they go against the patriarchal culture. So you need to face forward and ride on your goat forward, and then you're not a witch anymore. His student Han Boldung established similar codes. He depicted witches mostly as sexualized women experiencing in groups, and in his work were copied and distributed to the masses, to the Italian states and beyond. This is a great example of how women had so much absence of power, right? That the one thing that had power over men was sex, right? Women were that one thing, that's the only place you could get it. Specifically, I'm sure there were gay people that was legal. So, women were the only place you could get this thing called sex. And because they started using it as a thing of power, you're a witch! You can't be happy about your sexual nature that we forced you in. You have to be angry about everything and hate your life. How dare you? But while the images might be theatrical, exquisitely rendered and even at times humorous, the consequences for women accused of witchcraft were sadly very real. Everyone knows about the Salem witch trials, of course. And if you don't, they burned people alive. Between 1450 and 1750, around 90 to 100,000 innocent people across Europe and North America were tortured, accused,
is currently
and tried.
burning.
Yep. About a half are thought to have been killed. Although it was believed that witches could be people of different genders and ages, including children, most of those killed, as well as stigmatized and demonized, were women. So if you're thinking up as an old green-skinned witch for Halloween, could I offer, or not me, I'm not offering an alternative, sorry. Caddy is altering an alternative. So why not go back to those ancient times and celebrate the woman who was powerful, knowledgeable about herbs, able to heal, take part in rituals, and perform what seemed like magic. I'm cured! One artist who relished such characters was Remedios Zavaro, the Spanish border spent from 1931 until her death mostly living in Mexico City, surrounded by cats, stones, crystals, and talismans. Of course, Mexicans have a very long kind of witchcraft culture, especially if you get into the more native side of Mexican culture. You know, like getting your incenses out and getting the ghosts at us. That is not normal Christian values, okay? That is a indigenous thing practiced. Bardo, with her best friend, the Medicaid serialist Nora Carrington, studied and practiced ancient forms of witchcraft. Determined to take back the mysteries which were ours and which were violated, Carrington once said, both painted delighting cosmic images of formidable women shifting through wonderfully amended worlds. In Vardo's creation of the Bird, 1957, an androgynous elect figure shows off her ambidextrous skills, painting with one hand and blood fluttering into life before her, while in the other hand holding an aloft prism that refracts light from a distant star. Then there's her witch going to Sabbath, showing a hybridized figure, perhaps based on herself, wrapped from head to toe in red hair, holding a bird-like creature in her left hand and a prism leading light into her right. Charles images fill world away from the witch works that help demonize women, celebrate ancient wisdom, honoring their female subjects rather than exploiting them. Charles witches are beautiful, emanating strength, knowledge, and power. And of course, modern day witches, which there are many out there, especially if you go on the internet, just search up witches and you'll find them everywhere, are sharing the same kind of sentiment, the kind of power, the woman power of being able to understand how herbs work and healing people, natural exploration of the world, and maybe even the underlying cosmic and spiritual thing that may be happening with your crystals and talismans and putting bones and jars and all sorts of things that people really do believe, cursing people is of course a thing. So, a bit of voodoo. Voodoo is also kind of a natural magic. Men do also practice voodoo, which has power for a lot of people. Believing is the power in some cases. So if you're gonna dress up as a witch, dress as
placebo effect.
Yeah, dress up as a more hippie-like witch, and not the evil ones that were just used to put women on fire and kill and torture them.
I think more people should have bumped through their nose.
Yeah. Well, supposedly, I don't know, I'm not knowledgeable about this, but supposedly, having bones on your body is like connecting yourself to your ancestors. So, this is my grandfather's bone, and he's with me all the time, in my nose. So, just because it's like belief doesn't mean it doesn't have any real power, because you can get power from stuff. It doesn't even have real power. Scientific power.
Right.
But that's my story, my culture segment on witches, and why you should be the more positive witch. On to the stand.
That's why rhinoceroses are extinct, because people think what is it? Powdered rhinoceros horn is an aphrodisiac. So yeah, people are morons. Anyway, and a weather update. There's a no burning witches alert for sale in Massachusetts this week. The fires. Little witch burning joke there. Anyway, on to the history. Told the fanfare. It's a video. And it's about the weather. So there you go. It's a video about the weather.
Okay.
1636 on this day, Harvard University was founded. Harvard. You can't Harvard yard. That was Massachusetts. All in the news today is Harvard was founded in the town of Cambridge, Massachusetts. The oldest institute of higher learning in the United States was founded by the great and general court of the Massachusetts Bay Colony.
Fun fact, Scottish created
1726.
universities. So those are the oldest universities on
Scotland.
Scotland, the Scottish invented universities. Like how we do university these days, the modern universities was invented in Scotland.
Yes.
So the oldest universities are there.
Scotland, much older country than the United States. So Harvard's first, the Massachusetts had it as it was 1636, right down the road from Salem, where they're burning witches. Right? Higher learning, burning witches. Higher learning, burning.
Well, that's the thing, right? We just talked about how the higher learning people were the ones threatened by witches. They were like, "Hey, you can't know stuff we don't know. We're from the university."
1726 on this day, Anglo-Irish author Duncan Swift, who could be related to Taylor Swift, not sure, anonymously published travels into several remote nations of the world, later renamed Gulliver's Travels, a keystone of English literature that helped give birth to the novel form. So, Gulliver's Travels, published today under their name. 1790, Spain, yielding to the British demands, signed the convention that resolved the Nootka Sound controversy. Nootka Sound. You know what that is. 1914, a sound is a body of water, not just a sound of something. 1914, American physician and medical researcher Joe Salk, he developed the polio vaccine, which will probably be making a comeback. Polio will be making a comeback soon. All the anti-vaccines out there decided that I want polio. In 1918, Thomas Masaryk, Edvard Beneš, and other leaders issued a proclamation announcing the formation of an independent Czechoslovakian state. Independent from... Who are they independent from? Anyway, in 1919, the U.S. Congress... What?
Who, yes?
Okay. Had
Who
to
was
be
independent from?
And then Germany had to be, right? It was right after World War One.
Yeah.
And that is a sedate, and that was the first thing. One of the first things they did.
Okay.
Next stuff. 1919, the U.S. Congress overrode President Woodrow Wilson's veto and passed the Volstead Act, providing enforcement for the guidelines of prohibition. One of the biggest mistakes in U.S. history. 1955, American computer programmer and Bill Gates was born. Happy birthday to Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, co-founder of Microsoft, the world's largest personal computer software company. So happy. Well, he's 69 today. Bill Gates is 69. Happy 69, you rich guy. In 1962, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev kept the U.S. demand delivery of nuclear missiles to Cuba, bringing an end to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Khrushchev backed down. 1965, the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, Missouri, designed by Finnish-born American architect Eero Saarinen. Got a cough this morning.
Bless you.
Commemorate the St. Louis historic road Gateway to West was completed. So the Gateway Arch was completed today. 59 years ago today. 1967 is the birthday of Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts, who's perfect in a variety of roles, helped make her one of the highlights paid and most influential actresses in the 90s, early 2000s. Happy birthday, Julia Roberts. She turns 57 today. 1971, Great Britain launched Prospero, its first Earth satellite. So, Great Britain joined the space race. 2007, Argentine lawyer and politician Cristina Fernández de Kirchner became the first woman elected president of Argentina. In 2023, 1 year ago today, Matthew Perry died. Matthew Perry played Chandler Bing on the hugely sitcom Friends, died at the age of 54 of acute effects of ketamine, an anesthetic drug. His doctor going on trial recently. So Matthew Perry passed away 1 year ago today already. Our featured event, the Statue of Liberty, was dedicated on this day in 1886. The U.S. President Grover Cleveland. Yes, we had a president named Grover. He was named after the Sesame Street puppet Grover.
I think it was the other way around. The Grover was named after him.
Right. Sesame Street is that old. In 1886, on the day this day, Grover Cleveland dedicated Statue of Liberty to the people of France, to the people of the United States. Thank you, France. Thank you for the big statue. And now we got to build a room for it on Bedloe's Island, which was later renamed Liberty Island, Upper New York Bay. Bedloe Island. I have not visited the Statue of Liberty, although I shall next time I'm in New York. I will. I've been here several times. It wasn't open. That's the great part. Our featured biography, John Locke, the English philosopher. John Locke, born August 29, 1632 in Ringwood, England, died in 1704 on October 28th. This is the day he died, not the day he was born. So, October 28th, 1704, died in Oates, England, at the age of 72. For the birthdays, we mentioned Jonas Salkis, Caitlyn Jenner, American athlete, and formerly Bruce Jenner, born in 1949. Mohammed Ahmadinejad, president of Iran, born in 1956, and we covered Julia Roberts. National Day Calendar, National Chocolate Day. National First Responder Day, so if a first responder shows up, give them chocolate. And National Internal Medicine Day, which you may need later because of the first responders responding to your particular event. So it's only those 3 days today. October 28th, 2024 on Before Chocolate.
Okay, this has been Ally here, and we did miss an International UN Day on the 27th, which was yesterday on Sunday. It was International World Audiovisual Heritage Day. So it's all about raise awareness of the need to take urgent measures and acknowledge the importance of audiovisual documents. So make sure that you have all of your family videos double backed up, because that's going to be the only presence of you ever existing other than like stories by mouth. So it's the window into the world of life.
Everywhere.
Listen to those recordings, look at those images captured on film, and appreciate the riches and culture and what you can learn from other people's. So, and for future generations, of course, just sharing. So, of course, right now we're participating in audiovisual material by documenting the news of the day, or the news of the past few days, the weekend and today. So, we're doing already. Anyways, this has been me. We will see you guys tomorrow for Good Tuesday, where we will share and document the good news of the week on Tuesday for October 29th. So don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Turn on that notification so you know when we go live or post a video, and comment down below your favorite chocolate. I love like 90% dark chocolate. I don't know what it is. The bitterness, it wakes me up. Yeah. That's good chocolate for me. The darker the better. Not cooker's chocolate. Yeah, some sugar, but I really like dark chocolate. And let's go to our mic drop moment about the weather.
Let's go.
With the snowstorm taking over the U.S., many are warned to avoid traveling and to stay indoors. But a reporter did not expect this of all
love this
times
Australian
to be
talking
reporting
about
about the weather.
Yeah.
Watch a
I don't know what
sports
stupid
reporter
Americans are
fluster
That's a
as
lot
he
of snow.
becomes
Damn.
the weather reporter for the day and wishes to go back to his regular
That's
job.
cool. This guy's sarcasm is beautiful.
Yeah.
I normally do sports. Everything is canceled here for the next couple of days. So what better time to ask the sports guy to come in about 5 hours normally earlier than he would normally wake up, go stand
Negative
out
12
in the
was like
wind,
negative
in the
40
snow,
or
in the
something
cold,
in
and tell other
Fahrenheit,
people
by the way,
not to do the same.
in
I
Celsius,
didn't even
for any
realize
Celsius
that there
guys.
was a 3:30 also in the morning until today. How do I
The
get
outdoors
that,
is
Storm
currently
Chaser
not
7
heated.
duty?
Somebody
I
needs
feel
to
like
turn the
Clint
lights on.
Got the better end of that deal. You know, that thing's heated. The outdoors currently
I could
is
feel my
not heated.
face.
I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is that I can still feel my face right now. The bad
Cameraman
news is
also
I
had to stand
kind
out
of
there.
wish I couldn't.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.